Hi, my name is Jim, and I was retired. In more than 6 years of this unexpected retirement, I've read a lot about financial planning. But something I just read recently takes the fruitcake. Wall Street Journal carried an article quoting financial planners who said you don't need to track your spending. And then Christine Benz of Morningstar tweeted that it's a colossal waste of time. What? How does the Baroness of Bucket Strategy expect me to size my bucket? Stay tuned to this video and I'm going to explain why I believe you should track your spending and budget in retirement.
So here's the article from the Wall Street Journal about stop tracking spending and other money tasks to take off your to-do list in 2022. Well, I'm not so sure about some of these ideas. First one is don't rush to pay off that low interest mortgage. You know how I feel about mortgages in retirement, don't you? Second one is don't rush to overspend on items that are in short supply. I'll agree with that one. Then this don't track your spending. And the suggestion is that it's like too much of a thing, so don't bother with it. I don't know if this is a great idea. And then there are others that say automate your savings and just spend, including put some money aside that you can be free to spend. I'm not sure this is the best advice here. And then Christine Benz chimes in on Twitter with this tweet, calling it a colossal waste of time that gets in the way of achieving financial goals. I'm not sure how she came up with that. It did engender a healthy debate among financial planners and others that follow the field, some for and some against this idea.
That tweet by Christine Benz really caught me by surprise, because I've been using her 3-bucket approach in my DIY retirement. You take all your assets and divide them up into time buckets. And my bucket 1 holds assets in cash and cash-like equivalents to cover the next 3 years worth of expenses. And bucket 2 includes up to 5 years of expenses in income-producing assets. And bucket 3 has my long-term equity holdings. And I don't need to touch them for a long time. I can take profits from them in up markets, but in a down market, I don't need to touch them. But if I didn't track my expenses, how would I size those buckets? They're based on my annual spending estimates, and I do those from my tracking of expenses. So why is Christine Benz so against that? I don't know. It was December 28 and maybe she had just finished watching A Christmas Carol and she imagined all of us like Bob Cratchit hunched over a ledger in Ebenezer's county office. But as I've covered in previous videos, there's an automated way of tracking your spending and it need not be drudgery. My method is to do most of our spending on a small number of credit cards, which we pay off at the end of every month, of course. But that tracking of spending is then automated as I download that data into an application. In my case, I use Quicken, but you might use Mint or Personal Capital. The important thing is the credit card helps you automatically track your spending. Now, Christine Benz and the financial planners quoted in the Wall Street Journal are not the only ones out there with this idea you don't need to track expenses. Here's an article I just found today in Kiplinger.
Is budgeting overrated? And again, it's a CFP, Matt Gorin, who needs a budget, and budgeting can backfire, and alternatives to budgeting, like focusing on raising your income, reducing fixed expenses, make a spending plan, which is akin to that 50-30-20 that you sometimes see. Works when you're working, doesn't work when you're retired.
I'm going to put a link to all of these articles in the notes below. Hey, this is a good time to probably stop and pause. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel and go out to my Google Sites for copies of all those links that I put in these videos. Now, if you're still working, maybe this idea works. Budget your savings, set that aside, put it on autopilot, and spend paycheck to paycheck on what's left. If you don't have enough, you can go get a second job, work overtime, or ask for that raise this year. But if you're retired, you really don't have that lever anymore. You could get another job, but that's not my idea of retirement. The better option is to track your spending, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why, if you're retired, through your choice or not, that you should be tracking your spending. First is that reviewing your monthly and annual spending allows you to build a bottom-up budget. And that'll be a lot more effective than a rule of thumb, like a percentage of what you used to spend or what you used to earn. Circumstances change when you retire. You spend more on some categories and less on others. Knowing your data allows you to build a more accurate bottom-up budget for retirement. Now, the second reason is that one I mentioned at the beginning. It allows you to size your buckets for a 3-bucket strategy if that's your approach, as it is mine. Knowing what your annual spending is going to be allows you to size bucket 1 and bucket 2. If you don't use that strategy and perhaps use a barbell strategy, it allows you to size the cash cushion you want to have on hand in case the market turns. We may find out how important these strategies are to avoid the need to sell in a down market. And the third reason to track expenses, it's the only lever I've got left in retirement. I didn't get to choose when this retirement began, and I really can't control the market or the performance of my investments in the short term. And as much as I can take care of my health, I really can't control on how long this retirement is going to last. But I can control my spending. That's my choice on how much to spend and on what categories. Tracking your spending and building a budget allows you to take full control over that lever that's left to you. I want to show you how easy it is to track spending and build a budget. It's not drudgery, and it's not a colossal waste of time. Follow along.
Here is my Quicken for Mac. Again, Quicken for Windows is a little bit different, has a little bit more power than Quicken for Mac, but I'm on a Mac. It includes this quick overview of your spending. Last 12 months, you can also go to spending over time. And again, I've hidden some of the data for privacy, but you get the gist of how this application works. It's linking up with your accounts, including your credit cards, watching those spending, and tracking all of it. The way to get all that data are these reports. And again, I use the spending over time, transactions over time, and a monthly comparison. Here's the spending over the last 12 months. And again, it shows a lot of detail that's helpful in building a budget. The way you get the data is exported here, and that exports it into an CSV file that you can import into any spreadsheet application. The other report that I use is month-to-month category, and that allows me to look at income and expenses for the month that just ended and the prior month. And I do that once a month, and I take this data and I plug it in to my own spreadsheet in numbers. I manually do it, and it doesn't take me long, gives me a time to focus on that spending at a monthly level. I'm going to hide some of the data here. This is my budget, but you get the gist of how this thing works, and I've talked about it in a prior video. I urge you to go check it out. But this allows me to take that month-to-month number, plug them in to this spreadsheet, and then over here, I get to show you a 51-month average, 24-month average, and a 12-month average, and allows me to show the 12-month total so that I can get a good sense of what the annual income is going to be and what the annual expenses are going to end up being in the current year to make sure I'm on track. The most important thing are these categories over here. You need to keep, especially the expense categories, to a set number. You could condense them to a number of like 10 categories if that's what you want to focus on, but you do the same categories over time. If your credit cards start putting food and dining for your restaurants, or food and restaurants, and you have been tracking dining, then you want to track dining. You can teach your credit cards and your applications to use your consistent categories.
I'll conclude with my standard word of warning. I am not a professional like those folks in the Wall Street Journal. I have no initials after my name, so take these as entertaining ideas from one educated consumer to another. Always do your own due diligence and seek out a professional if you need one. And please like and subscribe to this channel. The more likes and subscriptions that I get, the higher this will be in search results. And I can share my knowledge with others who may be facing their own unexpected retirement.